Choosing the right print-on-demand company for your business is daunting. How can you be sure the company you choose is going to serve you and, more importantly, your customers? In this episode, I'll be going through 6 things to look out for in a print-on-demand partner so you can be confident in who you choose. And throughout this episode, I'll be sprinkling in some pro tips and nuggets to help you assess each area of a print-on-demand company. My name is Kerry, and welcome to this episode of the Print on Demand Playbook podcast. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. So excited to be with you today on this solo episode where I'm going to be going kind of in depth, breaking down 6 things that you should be looking for in a print on demand company. This is going to be valuable whether you are a complete beginner in print on demand and you're trying to choose that first print on demand partner to use in your business, or maybe you're established and maybe you're thinking about switching or adding another print on demand company. I think you'll get some value out of this podcast. Because I'll be going through a bunch of different areas and some things that you may not have thought about when assessing print-on-demand companies. So before we get into the 6 points today, I want to share a Apple review with you. Especially excited about this one because the name is just a great name. This comes from Poo Poo Kachoo on Apple, submitted on Apple Podcasts. Again, that's Poo Poo Kachoo. I love that. And they said, "Hello, guys. I want to thank you for allowing us into your world and for helping us figure out the POD universe. I started an Etsy store and haven't sold a thing, but then I found you guys and realized I need to pivot and change my strategy. Your modest beginnings and ability to share real information on how to succeed is so refreshing. You guys are the best." Poo Poo Kachoo, we appreciate you. Thank you for that amazing review. And man, we just love our listeners so much. And we have been getting a lot of reviews lately. So we really, really appreciate you guys submitting those. And it's just cool to see so many listeners. We really have an incredible community here on the podcast, and we love recording these episodes and we love hearing from you. So I also want to invite you, whatever platform you're listening on, maybe you're watching on YouTube, you're listening on Spotify or Google or Apple, leave us a review there. We'd love to hear from you and we love to potentially share that review on the podcast. So thank you to Poo Poo Kachoo and all of our listeners. We love you. All right, so let's get into it. So let's talk about 6 things to look out for in a print-on-demand partner. So I want to start off with number 1. And the number 1 thing, now these are not in order of most importance. I would actually probably say number 6, which is going to be the last thing that I'm going to talk about today, is potentially the most important thing to look out for. So these are in no particular order, but definitely stay tuned to the end because I think that 6th point is potentially the most important. But number 1 thing to look out for is product selection. You want to make sure that the print on demand you choose has the products you need. So, and that's kind of the first question I would ask as you are researching print on demand partners, print on demand companies, is what are your needs? What do you need for your business when you're starting out? Or if you're planning to maybe switch print on demands, if you're more established, you got to think about what do you need as a print on demand business. And one question I would ask is, what are your core products? So you need to make sure that that print on demand company is going to have the core products that you are going to want to sell. And another question I would ask along with that is, will you be able to grow with them long term? Now, if you've never had to switch print on demand providers, it can be a really daunting process. It can be really stressful and long. I've had to do this multiple times for different reasons. And when you switch print on demand partners, if you're established with one and you decide that you want to switch now, and I'm speaking to both beginners and established owners here, because when you're a beginner, you're choosing that first print on demand and you don't want to choose the wrong print on demand because then you may get to 6 figures in sales and then have to switch, right? And you want to try to avoid that. It's not the worst thing in the world, but you want to try to avoid it if you can. So I think you need to ask the question, will you be able to grow with this print on demand long term? But as I mentioned, when you have to switch print on demand providers, you essentially have to recreate all of your products in a new software, new print on demand software, and you have to delete all the old products. And sometimes you might have 100, 200, 300 products that you have to recreate from scratch in a new print on demand software. Just takes a really long time. It's just like very tedious trying to copy over all this information, make sure you don't mess anything up, add in the mock-ups, I mean, all the different things. So you want to try to avoid that if at all possible. And a lot of print on demands have like a transfer. They offer like maybe a transfer service or a transfer button that kind of tries to pull over the products from your old print on demand. My experience, these never work good. There's just not a good solution other than like manually creating these new products. So my point with all that is switching print on demands is not the funnest thing. So hopefully this episode is going to help you choose the right one where you don't have to switch later. But these are two questions I would ask when it comes to product selection with a print on demand is what are your current needs and will you be able to grow with this print on demand company in the future? And specifically when you ask that question, think about what products are you going to want to expand to in the future? If you're wanting to sell t-shirts right now, just t-shirts, maybe in the future you're going to want to sell hats. Maybe you're going to want to sell hoodies. Maybe you're going to want to sell youth clothing. This is a big one. A lot of people, go into it and say, okay, I'm going to just sell these unisex t-shirts, but then they realize, oh my gosh, I'm selling in a niche where this is like, it's a family type thing. And a lot of kids are, parents are going to want to buy things for their kids, or we could come out with a kid line. And then the print on demand company doesn't have youth products. Youth products are a little bit harder to find with print on demand. So, that might be something to consider. So you really need to think, about what do you need long-term? What do you need now? What are going to be your core products now? But can you grow with this print on demand long-term? And along with that, I want to let you know, and sometimes this is hard to see when you're researching print on demands, is that many print on demands specialize in certain types of products. There are print on demands out there that are just focused on apparel. There are print on demands out there that are focused on really odd items that you aren't as easy to find, that aren't just your average t-shirt. Some print on demands specialize in jewelry. Some print on demands specialize in wall art type things. So that's another thing you want to consider as you're researching is, what I recommend when it comes to product selection for most people, and this is just kind of a general piece of advice, is to pick a print on demand that kind of has an all around good product selection. There are many print on demands that have a little bit of kind of everything, right? They've got the hats, they've got the a good apparel line, they've got maybe some wall art, mugs. They've got a well-rounded product selection, and they're not necessarily specializing in a certain type of product. But that being said, if you're wanting to start a brand that does specialize in a certain type of product, then you might want to go with the specialty POD that specializes in that type of product. So it's really based on your needs. But I think for most people out there, what you're going to want to do is find a print on demand that has an all around solid product selection. Maybe they don't have, 20, 30, 40 products in each category, but they have a good all around selection. And so that's probably going to be the best solution for most people. But the number one thing I think, the first thing I think you should think about when you're researching print on demands is product selection. Do they have what you need now? And do they have what you're going to need long term? Okay. So that's something to look out for. And so before I get into point number 2, I also just wanted to add, and I meant to add this at the beginning, but if you are researching print on demands, what's the best way to research just, kind of a basic looking for print on demands? So number 1 would be the Shopify app store. That's going to be at apps.shopify.com. Even if you are primarily selling on like Etsy or maybe another platform, I would still recommend as a research tool going to the Shopify app store, apps.shopify.com. Search print on demand. It's going to come up with hundreds of apps in the app store, but this is going to be a good list for you to look through. There's some filtering options where you can look kind of by top rated and different things like that. You can see the reviews, which is really, really useful. And so even whether you're selling on Shopify or maybe another platform, I would be starting your research journey on apps.shopify.com. Most of those companies are not just going to be Shopify companies. They're also going to integrate with other platforms. So that would be kind of my number one research tool. The second thing I would mention is to go to YouTube. Go to YouTube and watch some reviews. Now, you want to be careful. Some reviews are sponsored, right? I've had many print-on-demand companies reach out to me about doing sponsored content, and I have done sponsored content for for print on demand companies. That doesn't always mean that, it's super biased. It can still be honest. It depends on the print on demand company, but you just want something you want to be aware of, right? When you're watching the content on YouTube, you just want to be aware if it's sponsored. Usually they're going to have a disclaimer there that is a sponsored video. But you just kind of have to use your best judgment listening to that creator, whether they're being honest or whether they're just, saying good things about the company because they got paid. You want to try to give your, you want to try to really assess whether they're being honest. But YouTube can be a great tool to research print on demand companies and see some honest reviews. I always try to give my most honest feedback, whether the video is sponsored or not sponsored. And I always let the company know, hey, I'm not going to just say a bunch of nice things about you because this is a sponsored video. I want to give my viewers an honest feedback. So I always try to provide pros and cons with those videos and make sure that I, kind of give the best recommendation that I can, because at the end of the day, if I don't give a good recommendation to my audience, they're not going to want to follow me, right? Like I'm going to lose my audience if I don't give my real honest recommendation, if I'm just doing it to make a buck. So anyways, that would be two research places that I would look, would be the Shopify App Store, number one, and then also watching some of those YouTube reviews. Okay, number two. So number one was product selection. Number two is going to be pricing. Pricing. Product pricing. The first thing that I would say is, I think a lot of people, when they are trying to find a print on demand partner, this is kind of the only thing they're looking at. They're kind of just looking at pricing. They're trying to find the cheapest prices. Not all print on demand companies are made equal, and pricing, low pricing, cheap pricing, as with anything else in life, doesn't always mean that you're going to get the best experience, the best quality, all those kind of things. So one thing that I would want you to know is that pricing can be all over the place in print on demand. Print on demand companies, many of them can be 30, 50% higher than some of their competitors. And there are a lot of cases where the pricing is high with a print on demand company, but that doesn't mean that they're offering anything better than print on demand company B that has a little bit lower pricing. There might also be print on demand company C that has dirt cheap pricing. And that can mean, in a lot of cases, can mean that they're not going to give you as good of experience or quality. Okay. So I want to let you know as a sub point to this, that I just did a print on demand pricing comparison video over on my personal YouTube channel, which is just Kerry Egler on YouTube. You can go to youtube.com/Kerry Egler, or you can just search Kerry Egler on YouTube. It's Kerry space Egler. We'll put that down in the show notes. But if you search my channel over on YouTube, I just released a print on demand pricing comparison video with 5 of the top print on demand companies. Not this video is not sponsored. And also, I have a ton of other videos on my YouTube channel comparing print on demand pricing, print on demand quality, doing full reviews of print on demand. So you can find a lot of information there on my personal YouTube channel. So pricing can be all over the place in print on demand. Point number 2 here on pricing, I would not recommend going with the cheapest print on demand provider. But you do want to find a print on demand provider that's maybe somewhere in that middle pricing where they are competitive, right? Remember, pricing is just one of the elements here. We're going through 6 elements. So pricing is not the end all be all, but pricing does correlate to your profit. So you have to have good pricing, to turn a profit, good pricing on your product. So this is an important element. And one of the other kind of pro tip that I would let you know is something that maybe you don't think about when you're just starting out and picking a print on demand provider. But when you're looking at these prices, if we look at a standard t-shirt, it could be any t-shirt. If we look at a standard t-shirt and we see print on demand company A is charging $15 and print on demand company B is charging $14, that's a difference of $1 per product. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, right? When we're looking at that on the surface, we're saying, okay, this company A charges 15, company B charges 14. That's only $1 difference. But what you're not thinking about as a beginner is if you sell 1,000 of those in a month, that's $1,000 in profit that you're leaving on the table for a tiny difference. Even a 50-cent difference, right? if you're selling 10,000 items a month, that's $5,000 a month, right? That's a lot of money. So those small differences in price can be very, very, very big when your company starts to grow. So this is something to consider. That being said, I would also add that in my experience, and I have reviewed probably somewhere between like 20 to 30 of the top print on demands over the years. I usually try to focus on some of the more popular print on demands when I'm doing my reviews. In my experience, most of the cheap kind of budget print on demand companies, they're really bad when it comes to customer service and quality. Now, I'm not someone that's going to tell you that low price always correlates to bad quality. I don't think that's always the case in anything. I think it is unfortunately the case more times than not. But I would say in the print on demand world, I'm not going to call out any print on demand companies, but there are definitely some bargain bin budget print on demand companies that have those extremely low prices. And in my experience of working with them and, reviewing their companies, they're not great when it comes to customer service and quality, shipping times, production. I mean, kind of a lot of the things that really matter as a print on demand company, they just don't do well at. And so I would not recommend I would not recommend going with the cheapest print on demand. You want to find a print on demand that, when we go through the rest of these 6 things, meets kind of some of these other criteria and has what you need, but then also has a competitive price. I would almost never recommend going with the highest price print on demand. But I wouldn't recommend going with the lowest price print on demand. Somewhere in that middle ground where you can find a competitive price on the products you need, while still getting some of the other things like customer service, quality, production times, and things like that. Okay. So here's what I would recommend when it comes to pricing. Narrow it down to your top 3 print on demands that you like the most and compare those with your core line of products. So assess the print on demands on some of these other 6 categories we're going to talk about, narrow it down to your top 3, and then just pick the lowest price print on demand out of your top 3 total overall. Pick the lowest price. Again, just to be clear on that, I'm not saying pick the cheapest print on demand. I'm saying take your top 3 that really meet what you need in all these 6 categories that I'm discussing in this episode. Take your top 3 and then select the lowest price print on demand there, so you can get the most margin, but also still get the quality and some of the other things, the product selection, and some of the other things we're going to talk about. Okay, so narrow it down to your top 3 and just take the lowest there. As long as they have what you need in these other categories. All right, moving on to number 3. So number 1 was product selection. Number 2 was pricing. Number 3 is shipping. Okay, couple things to consider when it comes to shipping with print on demands. As you know, hopefully, most of our listeners know, the print on demand is going to be shipping directly to your customer. You are not going to see these items, right? They're going to be shipped from the print on demand. They're going to be dropped off at a shipping carrier. They're going to be shipped directly to your customer. This is drop shipping, and you're not going to see the items. So the number 1 thing to consider, or the first thing to consider with shipping and print on demands, is what shipping carriers do they use? Print on demand providers use different. Some use UPS, some use FedEx, some use USPS, some use DHL, some like all this different stuff. Okay. Here's what I recommend. If you are in the US, I would recommend finding a print on demand provider that uses USPS, the US Postal Service. I'm not here to advocate for USPS or say that they're the best at all. Honestly, I probably think UPS is probably the best shipping carrier in the US, but they're not the best when it comes to small items like t-shirts and all this kind of stuff. And they just don't provide the best options. So I recommend, if you are in the US, to pick a print on demand provider that offers you United States Postal Service, USPS shipping. Here are the reasons why. Number 1, the cost is the lowest by far. Okay, it's much cheaper to ship with USPS than it's going to be with UPS or FedEx. So if you have a print on demand that's like only offering UPS, shipping is just going to cost more, right? So USPS is going to cost less. Number 2, no matter where the item is being shipped from, in 95% of the cases, USPS is going to be able to get that item anywhere in the US within 3 business days. So that's just kind of one of the things about USPS is they're going to be a little bit faster. And I know that probably has to do with just, the size of the items and different things, and just kind of maybe the infrastructure they have with, mailboxes and all this kind of stuff. But they're going to usually be able to get anywhere in the United States within about 1 to 3 business days. Now, I don't think USPS is like the most reliable company, and they've got their issues for sure, but I do think they're the best option when it comes to print on demand, is picking a print on demand provider that offers USPS to get the lowest price on shipping, along with the quickest shipping for most small packages. Right now, if you're outside of the US, unfortunately, I don't have a great recommendation for you. You're probably going to want to stick with your local courier if you're just selling locally. Whatever your country has as a kind of their government, shipping carrier. That's probably who you want to go with, but I don't have a recommendation really outside of the US. Okay, so the second thing to consider, the second kind of question to ask about the print on demand company you are considering: what is the shipping cost and how is the print on demand company calculating it? So this can be a really confusing thing. And so you have to do a lot of research on a print on demand company's website to figure out what they charge for shipping and how they are calculating it. Many print on demands, I mean, they do this in different ways, but many print on demands are going to have categories of products. So like a t-shirt might be $4.50, whereas a mug might be a little bit more because it's heavier, or a hoodie is going to be a little bit more because it's heavier. Usually print on demands also have a price break for a second item added to a order. So for instance, let's say you sell your customer a hoodie and a t-shirt. The print on demand company will take the higher priced shipping cost, which would be for the hoodie. Let's say that's $7 as an example. And they'll give you a break on the t-shirt because it's in the same package. So it reduces the cost. So let's say the t-shirt is normally $4.50 and the hoodie is $7. So you have $11.50. They're going to give you a break on that t-shirt because it's going to go in the same package, and they're going to knock it down to like $1. So now you're going to pay $8 instead of $11.50. It's going to save you $3.50. So that's something to look for, is like, what are the price breaks? Because a lot of your customers are going to buy multiple items. So it's cheaper to ship when you have multiple items in one package as opposed to multiple packages. So that's something to consider, is like, what are the price breaks? What are the general costs for each category of items? How are they calculating it? It's just important to do that research. And I also want to let you know, as just kind of a pro tip, is some PODs do jack up the shipping cost so they can lower their product pricing. I mean, it's just true. So as you're researching print on demands and you're looking at product pricing, don't be naive and just think that, oh, they've got lower prices over here at this print on demand. You want to check their shipping costs, because they might be jacking up shipping costs, and that's how they're lowering their product prices. So just to be clear on that, you might see print on demand A has X t-shirt for, $15. Print on demand B has X t-shirt for $10. And you're looking at it, you're like, this is the same t-shirt, but print on demand B is offering it for $10 a shirt. You're like, I want to go with print on demand B, but you need to look at the shipping cost, because maybe print on demand B is charging $6 to ship that shirt, where print on demand A is only charging $3.50. So you've got $2.50 difference in shipping costs. Now you're still getting a cheaper price on print on demand B. This is just an example though. They may have higher shipping. So it's just something you want to consider when you're looking at pricing and when you're considering the shipping. Okay. The last thing when it comes to shipping that's also very important to consider with print on demand is, how quickly do they ship? How quickly does the print on demand, and what I should say is, how quickly does the print on demand produce the item, print the item, and get it out of their factory? Most print on demands on their website, they are going to tell you what their average turnaround time is. Some print on demands will even have a section of their website where they show you currently in their factories in real time what is their average turnaround time. And what I mean by that is, how quickly are they printing the item, packaging it up, and sending it off to USPS or FedEx or UPS or whoever, you want to pay attention to this, right? There are some print on demands that promise 48-hour turnaround time. There are some print on demands that say 3 to 5 days. This is something that's important because I want you to think about this. To your customer, if you were the customer, it doesn't matter. Like, you don't care about production time, shipping time. You don't care about all these different things. You just care about how fast is it getting to your house, right? What is that time frame? When I press submit, complete my order as a customer, how quickly is it going to get to me? And so you as the business owner not only have to consider the shipping time, how much time it's going to take USPS or UPS to get it to your customer, but what is the production time? Because if it takes a print on demand 5 days to produce the item and then another 3 to 4 days to ship it, you're at 8 to 9 days to get to your customer. So you need quick turnaround times. Again, you might find a print on demand that has super low product pricing, but their turnaround times are 7 days, right? So that's something to consider. Generally, I would say 2 to 3 days is an acceptable production time. 48 to 72 hours is an acceptable production time. I would try to limit your search to print on demands that promote a 72-hour or less turnaround time, okay? So when it comes to shipping, which shipping carriers do they use? What is the shipping cost? How is it calculated? And how quickly do they produce the item and send it off for shipping? So we're moving on to the number 4 thing to consider. Number 1 was product selection. Number 2, pricing. Number 3, shipping. Number 4, what features does the print on demand offer? Again, this is going to go back to what are your needs and what will be your needs in the future. This is really something that you need to consider. What are your current needs and what will be your needs in the future? So number 4, we're talking about features of the print on demand. Things like print locations. Where do they print? A lot of print on demands only do front and back prints on t-shirts. They don't do sleeves. They don't do inner neck labels. They don't do, side prints or something like that. Like, think about what you want. If you want sleeve prints, you need to make sure you pick a print on demand that offers sleeve prints. So print locations, custom labels. I just kind of mentioned that, but if you're wanting to do a custom branded t-shirt, what you're going to do is you're going to be selecting a blank. Let's say it's the Bella Canvas 3001. The print on demand print provider is going to be ripping off the tag in the back, ripping it off, and they're going to be printing a branded label on the inside neck label on the inside of the neck. If that's something you want to make sure you pick a print on demand that offers that, because the majority do not, right? They're just the majority of print on demands do not offer that. The next thing, custom packaging. Are you going to want to do any special packaging with your items? Do you want a design on the package, or do you want an insert in the package for your customer? That's something you need to consider. Most print on demands don't offer it, but some do. The next one is huge right now. We've been talking about this a lot on the podcast. It's personalization. Do you want the ability to offer personalized products? Because again, most print on demands don't offer this. More and more print on demands are starting to offer it. Gelato offers it. Printful offers it, along with some other ones. But personalization is a huge feature, very trendy right now, that most print on demands are not going to offer. So if you want to sell personalized print on demand products, you need to pick a print on demand that offers personalization, or at minimum, you need to pick a print on demand that you can use an additional software with, like Customily. I'm not an advocate for Customily. It's just an example, but they're a Shopify app that you can you can create personalized products and then integrate it with your print on demand. So you want to make sure that there's a solution there for personalization, either through a third-party app or through the print on demand company. If that's something you want to offer, you need to consider that. I would recommend picking a print on demand like Gelato that does have this built in, if it's something you want to use, as opposed to using a third-party app. But a third-party app can be a solution. The last thing I'll talk about with features is integrations. What e-commerce websites and platforms and software does your print on demand integrate with? So if you're wanting to sell on Etsy, you need to make sure you pick a print on demand that integrates with Etsy, because you don't want to pick you're starting your Shopify store, you pick a print on demand, you create all these products, you do all this stuff, and then you find out, oh crud, they don't integrate with Etsy. You're in a pickle. You got to switch print on demands. So you always want to look at the integrations when it comes to print on demands. Where do they integrate with? And make sure that it has the integrations you need. So just to recap that, because I went through that pretty quickly, these are just a few examples on features of a print on demand. Print locations. Where do they print on the items? What locations do they print on the physical item? Sleeves, neck, back, front, different things like that. That's just an example of a t-shirt. But custom labels, like labels inside the neck, custom packaging, personalization, and integrations. Those are a few features that you want to look out for. Going along with that, moving to number 5 thing to look out for is the software. The software of the print on demand. This is what you're actually going to be using like every day, is their software. And, I want to let you in on a little bit of a secret here. A lot of print on demand companies, they're literally just software companies. They're not actually printing the items themselves. Some print on demands are printing the items themselves. They have factories and different things, fulfillment centers. But most print on demands, they're actually just software companies, and they are using local printers or print companies that actually print the items to just partner up with them. So what that means is you need to make sure that they have good software, right? And a lot of print on demand softwares, they're really bad. They're really old and out of date, and they don't have a lot of features, and they're hard to use. They're complicated, and they're not reliable when it comes to getting your orders from Shopify or Etsy or whatever platform you're using and getting them produced. So here's some things to think about with software. Is the software easy to use? I want you to sign up for the software. Most print on demands are free, and just browse around. Create a product. This is a really big tip. Go ahead and create a product in the print on demand that you are thinking about using, and see how easy it is to create a product. Because that's going to be one of the most important things, is how easy is it to create products. Some print on demand companies, softwares, it's very difficult and very confusing. So is the software easy to use? Go in there, sign up for a free account, browse around. That doesn't mean you have to choose them as your print on demand provider. Just try it out and see if it's easy to use. Is it current and up to date? If you sign up for a print on demand software and you go in there and it's like, this looks like it's from 1999, like they haven't updated this. This is like, you're looking at the mock-ups, you're looking at the text and just the way that the software is set up, and it feels like Windows 95. That's a good indicator that you should probably pass on that print on demand provider, because software is very important when it comes to this business model. The software has to be up to date. It has to be reliable and current. And lastly, what I just said is the last thing to think about is it reliable? Here's what you can do if you want to go the extra step, is in finding out if it's reliable, is you can throw a couple test orders in there and just make sure that the orders are showing up in the print on demand software. So, as an example, if you were on Shopify and you're connected up with a print on demand, you would want to create some products in the print on demand software, send them over to your Shopify store, and then go into your Shopify store, create a couple test orders, and then just make sure those orders are being bumped over to your print on demand software. Make sure they're showing up for production in your print on demand software, just to kind of test, is this software working correctly? Okay, now it's kind of going the extra mile. I don't think in most cases you don't need to do that. But if you're really concerned with the reliability of software, I think that's something you could do. The most important things I would look for, though, is it easy to use, and is it current and up to date? I would not go with any print on demand company that has software that looks like it's Windows 95, even Windows XP. It's too old. Okay. It needs to be current. It needs to feel modern. Okay. That's important. So software is number 5. The last thing that I want you to look out for when it comes to choosing a print on demand provider is arguably the most important, and that is going to be quality. Okay. The quality of the prints. This has been a topic I have talked about ad nauseum over the last, It's going to be 5 years in September that I have had my program called Shirt School. Man, we've worked with thousands and thousands of sellers and apparel business owners around the world over the last, I'm getting close to saying 5 years. It's been over 4.5 years. It's been nearly five. What is it? June, the end of June, July, August, September. Yeah. 4 years and 9 months we've been doing Shirt School. I've worked with thousands of sellers, and quality has been, I think, probably the number one thing that is most talked about and most critiqued when it comes to print on demand providers. And I have somewhat changed my stance on this over the years. When it was very early on in Shirt School, and I still am like this, but I have definitely just changed my thought a little bit. Was very early on in Shirt School, I was like, go, go, go. I'm telling my students, just go, just launch, just go. And I still echo that same message. But I would say I was a little more apt to give the print on demand company a pass on quality and just say, just launch your store without testing the quality of the print on demand and kind of figure it out later. Like, just go with it. And my students, especially the first couple of years, just ran into so many issues with quality and having to switch print on demands. And it was just like very frustrating. And then what happened was I have done so many company reviews, print on demand company reviews on my YouTube channel, where I've had the opportunity to order items from the print on demand company, actually, like, create my own products and order items from the print on demand company, and then unbox them, unpackage them, and assess the quality. I did that so much on my YouTube channel, and actually assessing the quality of these print on demand providers, that I realized a lot of them really struggle with the quality. Like, the quality is just not great on a lot of print on demand companies. And so the combination of seeing my students kind of struggle with that and maybe giving some advice that I wish I would have been a little bit more, I wish I would have thought through a little bit more, and some of the advice I'd given on quality, along with doing these reviews and seeing the bad quality from a lot of these print on demands, I kind of changed my stance on this. And although I think you should launch your store as quickly as possible and go and launch before you're ready. Don't procrastinate, take imperfect action. I believe in all those things. I do think it is an important step for you to order a sample from your print on demand company that you're considering going with and look at the quality in person, assess that quality in person. And in fact, I would recommend that you potentially order a few samples, a few different samples of your designs, just to see what the print quality is like. So I would recommend that before choosing a print on demand, test the quality. This is really, really important. So that's kind of like tip number one around quality. I would order a sample and test it, or potentially a few samples. Number two, I would read reviews on the print on demand companies. So if you go to apps.shopify.com and you search print on demand, you click on a print on demand company, you're actually going to be able to see the reviews. And a lot of these companies, they're going to have hundreds and potentially thousands of reviews. I'm going to go in there right now just to kind of back up what I'm saying. If you look at some of these companies, 6,000 reviews, 5,000 reviews, 700 reviews, 1,500 reviews. Many of these companies have thousands of reviews. These are valuable to you as a potential seller or someone who wants to use this company. If we click on these, and I'm just going to click on one, and I'm not going to tell you which one it is. I'm just going to click on one and just read a few of these reviews, just a random print on demand company. Let's see what they say. This is not pre-scripted. So this review this company I clicked on, the first review, haven't had a problem yet. Very nice job. Okay. That's awesome, right? The second review, over the last 4 years, I've only had one printing flaw, which was refunded. Otherwise, it's been a great partnership. The manufacturing warehouse is in the same city that I'm in. Turnaround time is awesome. It's great, right? Great POD app, missing some features like custom packaging. Okay, that's helping us there, right? If we keep going through these reviews, we can even click on 1-star reviews. There's 88 for this company. and we can see what are they talking about in their reviews. Okay, so one here says their customer support's really bad. Okay, customer support. If you're seeing the same things talked about in these reviews, like this one, for instance, I'm not seeing a lot of things about quality. I'm seeing things about customer support. Here's another review that says the customer service is the worst in the business. Okay, here's another review that says lack of communication. So I'm seeing here that customer service. This one says only getting copy and paste replies from customer service. Um, a lot of people are awaiting production for a long time. Okay. This one says devastated. Now, you have to take some of the reviews with a grain of salt, right? Just like anything, balance the good with the bad. Like you can read some of the bad reviews, but also read the good reviews, right? Like, and look at the rating. This one has a 4.1 star rating, which is really good. 700 plus reviews, over 500 5-star reviews, and 88 1-star reviews. But this helps you see what are the weak points of these print on demand companies. For this company that I'm looking at, which I'm not going to mention their name, this company I'm looking at, it seems to be maybe their weak point is customer service, right? They're not getting back with their sellers very quickly. They're not providing helpful responses. They're providing responses that are maybe just copy and paste, right? They're slow at getting back with their sellers. So read the reviews, see some of those weak points, and reviews are a good way to see the quality. That's going to be usually the most talked about thing on these reviews is going to be the quality. And the last tip I would give you is a shameless plug. I've already plugged it once or twice in this episode, but check out my YouTube channel, Kerry Egler on YouTube. Search for me, KerryEgler, because this is kind of one of the things that I would say that I'm kind of known for on YouTube is print on demand reviews, both quality reviews along with full, print on demand reviews of their software and comparisons and different things like this. So if you're listening to this podcast, likely, hopefully you're a fan of my content. And so you're going to feel like you can kind of trust what I'm saying. And so hopefully you do. Go to my YouTube channel and check out some of the print on demand review and comparison videos that I have. As I mentioned, I just did a print on demand pricing comparison for 2024. I've also done many review tests or quality tests, I've done many quality tests on my YouTube channel. And I want to let you know that coming up very soon in the future, I have more of these quality reviews coming out from different print on demand providers. And so I think these will be very helpful to you as you are choosing a print on demand provider. So just to recap this episode and the 6 things to look out for. Number 1, product selection. Number 2, pricing. Number 3, shipping. Number 4, features. Number 5, software. And number 6, quality. These are the 6 essential things I think you should be looking out for in a potential print on demand partner. And so with that, I want to thank you so much for listening to this episode. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you, just subscribe on whatever platform you're listening from. We would love to just have you as a regular listener. And thank you so much for listening to this episode and hanging out with me. I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Print on Demand Playbook podcast. If you enjoyed it, please leave us an honest review on whichever platform you're listening from. Thank you and have a great day.